Good afternoon, and thank you for joining our webinar on prepping data for Tableau. My name is Karen Rajat. I'm Unalytics Marketing Director, and presenting today will be Huey Quolo, our District Sales Manager. Huey will demonstrate how you can save hours on data preparation and therefore accelerate time to analytics and valuable business insights. Before we get started, I'm going to take a moment to tell you a bit about who Unalytics is for those of you who are not familiar with us. We've been in the business intelligence and analytics space for a long time, since 2001. We have over 900 customers from a broad range of industries, and we deal with a broad range of job functions as well. Our primary focus has been on Tableau since 2013. We're a premier reseller and a certified consulting partner, having completed over 350 Tableau consulting engagements. We provide a full range of Tableau services, including training, dashboard creation, data preparation and ETL work, as well as data warehousing solutions. In addition, we provide Tableau server, implementation, and governance services. So now that you know a little bit about who we are, I'm going to pass the floor to Huey so that he can dazzle you with his data prep demonstration. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy the webinar.
Everyone. So we're going to be talking about Tableau prep and the challenges that come with data preparation. For those of you, as we were seeing from the poll, many of you haven't used Tableau prep, so I'm assuming that you either don't have it from the creator package, which comes included, or if you're using something else. The regular thing that we see quite often is that customers can't analyze their data because they find that the data is in the wrong shape for visualization, right? And getting data into the right shape, it can be a repetitive, manual, and time-consuming process. One of the things that we hear quite often, according to the Harvard Business Review, is that many analysts spend 80%, if not more, of their time prepping the data and 20% of the time left analyzing it. So what that means is that analysts and business users often try to get data in the right format for themselves or for others, but get stuck because they have no tool, right? So there's or even because the existing tools that they have are a little complicated or too expensive or require specialized skills. As a result, they often give up or rely on others to do it for them. This is where you find people relying on IT to clean up the process for them and make it available to be consumed. Data prep is often done independently of analysis. Sometimes it creates a gap between the data prep output and what you are trying to accomplish from an analytical perspective. This gap can create time-consuming rework as the data prep output doesn't really meet the needs of the analyst, and you find yourself going back and forth between IT and the end user. So we're hoping that, as you see from our process today, we can spend more time answering questions from the data and less time getting it ready for analysis. So having said that, when we're talking about prepping data for Tableau, data usually starts a journey in a raw, messy state, right? And this is it's hard to analyze as it is. It's incomplete or has structural inconsistencies, as you can see here. We have names that are not formatted the way they should be. We have city names that are incorrect. We have zip codes that are creating conflicts. So to see the complete picture, sometimes even you need to bring multiple sources together to be able to do this process. So this is part of when we're talking about cleaning up data, we're talking about combining it, reshaping it, making sure that things are altered so that we can have the data ready for visualization. And this is that process that's called data preparation or data prep, which it's used interchangeably. So this is one of the many examples that we see, and oftentimes a lot of organizations put data preparation reserved for only people that have specialized skill sets. So data engineers, data scientists, they'll spend the time going through that, and only once that's ready, they'll send it to an analyst for consumption. Another example of that would be, if you look at a cross table, you can have cross tables on your database or on a spreadsheet, and this works well when you're looking at transactional reports. If if you're doing an Excel spreadsheet report that you want to send that over. However, this does not work well when you're trying to visualize the data in Tableau, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen this as you've gone through the challenges of trying to make the data work for you. A prime example of that is when we're looking at survey data, for instance. Every response is a row and every question is a column with individual responses in each intersection. If you don't reshape the data and pivot the survey questions into rows, you'll end up writing like hugely horrible long formulas to calculate average response scores, and you're going to find yourself incurring long-term maintenance costs because every time you go through the process of making changes, you have to change the data again and again. So a simple reshaping of your data can save hundreds or even thousands of dollars in ongoing maintenance of they're ready for visualization within Tableau. So before we jump into the demo, just a quick recap again. When we're talking about working with the data flow and creating things, creating or using good data, bad data means you have duplicates. If you have John Smith on your SQL Server, on your spreadsheet, and on an Oracle database, and you're trying to bring all that data together, you don't want to have John Smith 3 different times. You want to have that joined in together or unionized in such a way that it's easy to understand that it's the exact same person. Same thing with missing data, inaccurate data, and incorrect data. All those things cause problems, and the reality is you only have so many chances to restate your findings before people start losing trust in your ability to produce dashboards and create workflows, right? So as you go through a correction here, a correction there, it's usually not a big deal, but once you've gone through that repeatedly and you ask somebody for that data again, people are going to start losing trust in your ability to deliver, and they're going to start looking for their answers elsewhere. Again, it's one of those things that ends up causing a lot of problems when you're trying to get your BI deployment out there. So if you're unsure, that your data source is accurate, you will have to find your the SMEs, the subject matter experts for the data. You want to find somebody that actually has a good understanding of what's being brought forward so that you can verify your assumptions up front. The key word with all of this is really garbage in, garbage out. And part of this means, aside from looking at the data sources, you want to validate your calculations against the source systems and make sure that those steps are not skipped, right? Because a lot of times it's the simplest of calculations at times that throw everything off and cause all sorts of problems and makes it difficult for you to aggregate your data in your dashboard. Having said all that, so today we're going to be focusing on Tableau Prep Builder. And so it's a tool that, again, for those of you that have Tableau Creator Bundle, this comes with that. It comes with a package. So you would have access to the Tableau Desktop license, you have the Tableau Prep Builder, and you have a seat of either Tableau Online or Tableau Server all included in the same price schedule. So with Tableau Prep Builder, it empowers more people to get analysis faster by helping them quickly and confidently. You're going to combine, you're going to shape, and you're going to clean your data. This gives you a direct and visual experience to have a deeper understanding of your data. It has smart features built into it that make really the whole preparation and integration simpler than if you have to spend a lot of steps. And it integrates really well with the Tableau analytical workflow so that you can gain those insights a lot faster. And this is where, to Karen's point earlier, we're able to save time and hours at a time when you're going through the cleanup process. Another component of Tableau, which is something that fits into the Tableau server and Tableau Online, is the Tableau Prep Conductor. And this really what it does is it allows you to automate a lot of the workflows that are built inside of the Prep Builder, which is the part that we're going to demo today. So inside Prep Conductor, you're actually able to, at a scale, not only have just the one workflow that you're working with, but for all the different data sources that you're trying to bring in together, you're able to bring those in, schedule a time that those things, the extracts will be refreshed. You have the ability to also set up in terms of authentication, who worked on it. You can see the details of the flows, how they were worked and how they were set up, and that's also part of the cataloging capabilities. all of that is part of the Tableau data management package, which is a separate offer from Tableau to help you better manage data and go through that process. Having said that, so we can go to our demo, and I'll just switch to my Tableau prep here. I had a bit of a blue screen. I hope everyone can still see what I'm showing here. So this is Tableau Prep Builder, and as I had mentioned before, it comes with the creator environment, so you're able to download this from your client portal, or even if you download it as a trial, you should be able to look at that. So having said that, for our purposes today, there's 4 topics in particular that I would like to cover for our demo. So I want to show you how to connect data here in Prep Builder, combine and integrate multiple data sets, and we're going to do this through joins and unions. We're going to show how to interact with and clean data, and finally we're going to just share this finished workflow into Tableau Online so that others can then use it and consume the data that we've created. So for the time being, for the next few minutes, I'm going to take off my sales manager's hat off, and I'm going to be focusing as an analyst, right? So if you're familiar with the Tableau demos, you'll know about the Superstore. So for today's purpose, or for the time being anyway, I'm an analyst at the Superstore, and we're going to be bringing in data from one of our most recent acquisitions, which is SupplyMax. So the idea here is that since the acquisition, I'm going to have data that's coming in from the Superstore, from SupplyMax, and then I have another data source that I need to bring in that will give me details of the combined effort between the two. And obviously, I'm assuming this is going to sound relevant to a lot of you that have worked with multiple data sets and dirty data. So while I'm going through this, if you can envision, prep is making the process of cleaning the data is going to be visual. It should be direct and intuitive. So again, for those of you that have used Tableau Desktop, this should be relatively familiar. You can see here on the right side, we have the Discover interface, and we also have the training and resources. So this is all always available on this side. And then on the blue side of things, on the blue pane, we have the connections. And in the middle, we have our recent flows, which we don't have any here, but we also have our sample flows. So having said that, let's look at connecting to data, right? So I can connect to different data sources, from everything from flat files that we have here to Tableau extracts, and then I have different server options listed also. What you'll notice is that while there's a lot of different server options available, it's not as many as you'll find inside a Tableau desktop. Not to be discouraged, as these are continuing being added by Tableau all the time. So when the next version of Prep comes out, there will be other data sources that will be included in this. So for our purposes today, I'm going to be bringing in the SupplyMax data. So I'm just going to click on that. And you'll notice that what Prep does here is that it will add information to the flow pane. So you'll see this is the type of data that I have, similar to, again, what you see inside of Tableau Desktop, has the field names and has all the different details. What I'm going to do, because we're looking at cleaning up data, I'm going to add a step to this. So if I click on the plus sign, I have multiple options. So I'm just going to say I'm going to add a step, and my step here, my goal is to go through the process of cleaning my data. You'll notice that once I clicked on that, underneath it wrote already clean, because it identifies that this is what I want to do with this data. And you'll see here in the what they call the profile pane, and under each profile we have columns of data, and all of them have little bar charts, and these are small small little visualizations that are based off the number of rows for each of the values, and this was supposed to help me identify different trends. So with that in mind, I mean, you can see as we scroll to the right of this, there's a lot more information. I have the client details. I have a lot of details here to use. But let's do a quick visual inspection. So I can see that as I go through my units sold, that a lot of my sales are really between 2 and 4 units. And if I want to see which state has given me the most sales, I'm going to do a quick sort. And I see, New York seems to be the one that has the most sales at this point, and that the consumer segment is the one that has a lot of the sales into. So right off the bat, with a very quick visual, I can see that Tableau is helping me have a better understanding of this and make some conclusions as to how is this business doing before I have to do anything else. Um, Having said that, you can, I don't know if you noticed, but on the shipping costs, I seem to have an outlier, right? I have numbers in the positives here, and then we're starting to look at negatives, and I mean, it doesn't really make sense to have a negative shipping number. So obviously this is an outlier, and there's something off with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on this to see if it will then identify. You'll notice at the bottom it has identified the different products that are related to this, the shipping mode, the shipping costs, and it has all the information on the data grid below for all the different numbers and all the different data sets that are related to this. Not to mention that it seems that the order date is 1970, so it's a little bit off with that. So because this is not looking correct and it's at a very different value, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to exclude this from our process. So I don't want to see this data as part of our flow. It's still available again, so if you want to be able to go back to the original data source, the data will be there, but for our purposes of the workflow, I'm going to have that removed. The other thing that we'll do is you'll notice under ship mode, for instance, we have a lot of mismatched values here. We have first class, first class, we have second class, standard class. So it really, there's thousands of rows of data on this, right? I mean, 554 here, 2,796. So there's a lot of information that you would have to spend a lot of time cleaning manually. But with prep, this is made easy because there's what they call the fuzzy clustering algorithms that are baked into the tool. So instead of having to spend a lot of time going through the process of cleaning this, I'm just going to, say group replace through pronunciation, and prep will do this on its own. So with a few clicks, it will get everything organized, and now you'll see that we have first class, same day, second class, and standard class. So everything else has been combined based on the pronunciation of the data. So now, again, the data is getting cleaned up, is getting straightened out, and you'll see that also if you're looking at a bit of an auditing, you can keep track of what it is that we've made changes to. You can see that we've done filter, we've done grouping and replacing of the data. So for the time being, my supply max data seems to be clean and ready to be used. So what I'm going to do now, because again, I'm work for the Superstore, I want to bring my Superstore data and try to merge this thing together. So I'm going to go back to get some files here, and this could be, even though I'm using a flat file, this could be a database, SQL, Oracle, or anything else that you're bringing in from different tables to create that that join of the data here. So I'll bring that over, and I'm going to just put this a little lower here, but you'll see that what Prep has done, it has color coded my my two different data sources. So my supply max is in blue and my superstore is now in orange. So having done that, and I have the two different sets of data here. They, as far as I understand it from looking at the data itself, they have the same structure. So, and the data seems to be combined vertically. So it makes sense to create a union for this and then join that data together. So Prep has done now joined my or unionized my supply max data and my superstore data. And you'll see here that I have resulting fields. I have 4 mismatching fields from 20 resulting fields that were matched. Right, and these are the mismatched fields, and they're color coded, so it's easy to identify what they are. So the sidebar here tells me what, which ones are wrong, and I can then try to figure out what do I need to bring together. So in this case, I have, union sold. Actually, before I do that, I'm just gonna only show the mismatch field so I can remove everything else. I can focus just on those ones alone. So I have units sold here and I have quantity. And I'm gonna merge these. Actually, before I do that, whoops. I'm going to just do the join again. I'm gonna bring the quantity over to units sold. And I'm going to bring region to company because they should be the same standard data in terms of where our stores are located, and it should remove my null values also. So you'll see now that everything is clean and organized, and I have 0 mismatching fields from 18 resulting field joins there. And if I remove this, you can still see the same details. Everything is clearly organized, and it's all in good order for us to be able to use and consume. Having done that, I'm going to bring one last data source here, and this is it's an Excel file that is the master product list, so I can wrap everything up. This last data set has details about my products. It has things like category, SAP category, product name, so I can associate all those things with my transactions. So I'm going to bring that in. And while that's processing, you'll notice again that Tableau has changed the color, so I have 3 color standards to work here with. And then when it comes to doing this, because this is a different data source or the different data set, and it's organized in a row level, so it's more of a horizontal structure. So I'm going to do a join instead of doing a union. So I'm just going to pop that here. So again, just dragging and dropping. And you'll notice that Tableau has decided that this should be a center join, but we can also go with a left or inner join instead of center join, and then you have or a right one depending on how you want to organize it. But for this purpose, it seems that having it organized in this fashion seems to work. We'll see that we have here from this union we have 15,688 rows that were included, but we have 10 that are not. We don't need all the data that's in the master prep spreadsheet, but we do need these 10 fields. So we can look at these and we can see that these are the areas that are causing us some problems. But what I'm going to do, just taking a step back, is I'm going to just go back into showing only the mismatch values, because those are the only things that I care about at this point. I don't want to look at everything else. So what I'm going to do here is really identify what's the problem. And I see that one of the issues that we have with our data is that one of our product IDs is off. It has dashes at the end of it that really shouldn't be there. So I need to just edit this so that it can match the rest of the data that I have in the system, because it seems to be the only one that's off. So once I do that, I just close it up. And you'll notice that I no longer have anything that's not showing in my excluded bar on that side. So once that's done, I've now cleaned up my data. So I have this available and ready to be consumed. Having done this, I have a few options available in terms of how I want to work with this. I can right click and then say I can preview it in Tableau desktop if I want to just immediately start creating a dashboard or try to validate this data, see how it works. If I don't want to do that, I can also create a I can click on the plus sign and create an output. Basically what the output will do is will give me a few other options to work with this data set that I've now restructured. I can save it to a file, which means it would save it locally, or I can publish it as a data source. And from that, I just have to log in. So I'm going to log in to my Tableau Online. And while that's showing up here, let me just put my credentials, which I can't really show you because it's supposed to be confidential. So we'll see. Let me just add this here. Oops. Oh, no. Computer froze. Okay. So having entered that here, I need to, where is, and that should then get me in, unless of course I mistyped it. And there we go. So I now say I select which server I want to have that available to work with. So I've just selected our company's Tableau Online environment. And with this, now I have different options then now in terms of where I want this located. I can say select a project. I can put it under my demo box. I can rename it. I'm just going to call this workflow 1 or 12. And then put a bit of a description. I'm going to say supply max and superstore data. So once that's done, I'm going to say run the flow. And then what that does is that it validates that the data there is correct. It prepares the output, and then it's going to make it available to our Tableau Online environment. That way we should be able to consume it from here, and we should be good to go. So while that's doing that, it's elapsing. It takes a little time in the beginning, but then once that's done, it automatically pops it up, and now it's available inside of Tableau Online environment for others to be able to use. So you'll see it still has me as the owner. It has the live data, so the data is available there, but it's set up as an extract. But this is then ready to be consumed. If somebody else needs to be able to look at it and work with it, they're able to do that with no problem. Same thing in terms of being able to consume it inside of Tableau Desktop. And lastly, if you want to create a workbook and you have access to the Tableau Online environment, you can create a workbook from here using that data that's now validated, or even use the Ask Data function. So with that, really concludes the demo part of our webinar. Just to wrap up in terms of some final points that I wanted to touch on, it's important that we establish consistency in terms of using structured, standardized process in terms of bringing in your data together, cleaning things up, going through that process of making it repeatable and a timely process. Because I've done this now once, and because the data is there and it's available, as new information comes in, I don't have to redo those steps. It will identify that if something should be matched by pronunciation, it's there. It's easy for you to go and interact with and change, and it allows you to maintain consistency in terms of governance and a way for you to work with that data. So again, you want to make that dependable, repeatable, and a timely process to work with your data. Another step on that is really you want to automate that data acquisition, right? So for those that will be consuming the data to create dashboards, having this automated and ready for them to use makes life a lot easier and makes the process much faster to move forward with. So lastly, there are situations where Tableau Prep at this point is not suitable or not the ideal tool to be leveraged. So when you're dealing, for example, if you're creating a data mart, so in this case a 3-tier data mart where you have to go through the process of landing the data, integrating it, so combining it with the different data sources that you're bringing in and the business rules, then making it available for visualization, that wouldn't be a fit for that, right? So in a situation like that, and in situations where we're talking about combining geospatial data, bringing in APIs, bringing in JSON files that even though are available, so JSON and R and Python are available to use in Tableau Desktop, but they're not currently a connection that you can bring in to use in Prep. So for situations like that, we leverage other tools. We can work with Alteryx, with Talent, with Nime, anything else that's more ETL robust that allows us to be able to do a lot of the other tasks. So lastly, just to recap, make sure that we're on the same level there. So Tableau Prep is not an additional cost. It does come included with your Tableau Creator bundle, which means you have access to Tableau Desktop, you have Tableau Prep, and a seat either inside of Tableau Online or Tableau Server for this creator person. The data management package, the Tableau Prep Conductor, that's the one that's a separate data management package that Tableau offers, and it's $60 per user per year. So with that, thank you everyone for attending the webinar. I do hope you found it informative, and we're happy to take on some questions, and we'll take it from there. And I'll pass it back